CP.
Are you serious? He's gone! 40, 30, Portis all the way! Touchdown Redskins, 64 yards!
26 minutes.
He's pretty sharp. You know, he'll coach you up on the Miami guys and everything else. He's kind of fun to be around. Got an opinion, too.
You know, I've been blessed to have the opportunity to go out and be myself and say the things that I say. And, you know, for the outside world, they can deal with it how they deal with it.
26 minutes with Clinton Portis. CP. Teach him something.
Welcome to 26 Minutes, episode 53. I'm CP, Monica McNutt. We're in the house. We're back at you for the second time this week. So we got to bring it to you this week. We got the Bears on Monday Night Football that has a really good defense. And our defense has been really poor. And they have a really poor offense. So we got to figure out a way to win this game. Right now we're 0-2. But you're in a position over the next 2 weeks because the Giants just made a quarterback change. So you catch a young Daniel Jones, inexperienced Daniel Jones. So you got an opportunity to capitalize on a 2-week span and possibly get back to 2-2. But you got to start off on Monday night with the Chicago Bears. And that defense, which they lost their D coordinator, Vic Fangio, to the Denver Broncos. So it's not the same dominant defense of last year. But they still have a lot of talent. You still got Khalil Mack. You still got a bunch of guys that you got to face that's going to tee off, and they're coming. Are we up for the challenge?
Yes. Woo! Okay, here's my thing. And you mentioned them on episode 52. What are we doing? 53 right now? Eric Flowers, Donald Penn. If you give Case a chance, now you mentioned Khalil Mack in terms of the beast and the pressure that he creates, but I think if you give Case a chance, you got a chance. We keep talking about our young receiving core. You got to give Case an opportunity to get the ball down the field.
So before we get to the young receiver core, you brought up Case, and right now against the blitz, Case is top 10 against the blitz right now.
Fantastic.
In percentages, completions, being able to recognize the blitz, get the ball out of your hand into a playmaker's hand, and he's not holding on to the ball. That helps the offensive line out tremendously. So, you know, I think it's been undervalued what Case has brought to this team over 2 weeks. You know, it's went unnoticed, but the first week he came out dropping dimes. Week 2, you know, he's missed a couple throws, but, hey, it's part of football. But his accuracy, his athletic ability, and his where to, you know, knowing where to go in key situations to get the ball out of his hand has been spectacular. And it's really been under the radar because so much negativity or so much attention has been paid to how the defense is performing.
Well, I think that scrutiny automatically comes when you catch an L's, especially against your division, opening the season. And I think it would be a little bit more grace for the defense if the defense had not been heralded since the end of last season as the thing that we were probably going to be able to hang our hat on. I mean, if you look back through our stats so far, through 2 games, if you can eliminate penalties, right? If you can make smart decisions, get those chunk plays, we don't necessarily need the highlight plays, but if you're continuing to move, to me, the Bears are slightly worse off offensively than we are. So, and I mean, we have room to grow. So
I think our offense is night and day compared to the Bears because when you look at the Bears and playmaking, starting at their quarterback position, that's where it all started. They trade Jordan Howard, so they don't have that every down back, possibly with the young guy who's coming up. But right now he's not there, you know. And Tariq Cohen, who's been kind of shelled for 2 weeks, I know because I got him on my fantasy team. That he hasn't had any big performances, and he's, you know, like he's been their X factor when they had Howard as well. So now when you look at the Bears, you know, you're looking at their receivers. There's nothing that just jump off like, oh, they got rid of Alshon Jeffries. They moved on from so many guys, so they don't have that big play receiver. Although they have young receivers like we do. You know, they have Ridley, who's a good playmaker, a good young tight end. But offensively, they haven't gotten it together. So here's an opportunity for our defense to actually let their hair back and feast on a poor offense. Like if you speed Trubisky up and you put him in a decision-making process where you force him to have to get the ball out of his hand. Don't let his athleticism kick in and he's allowed to sit back and eventually find someone, because we've given all the quarterbacks a bunch of time over the last 2 games. You look at Dak and you look at Wentz. They had time to find people down the field. This week, I would tee off. Like, if we get beat by one of these receivers, then I'm okay with that, right?
Yes.
Yeah, because I'm teeing off on Trubisky. I'm going to rush Trubisky. So if I'm worried about, the first 2 weeks, you facing D-Jack. You don't want him to get behind anyone. You're game planning for that. Well, we didn't game plan for that because he got behind. You look at Amari Cooper. Yeah, so not being able to execute. Right now, I'm taking my chances with Trubisky.
All right, so then in the locker room this week, even amongst coaches' meetings, obviously you want to win the next game, but are you looking at this one as a viable opportunity in a way that you maybe didn't with the high-powered offenses that we've seen in the first 2 weeks? Like, is it a different conversation going into this game?
Well, it is, because the Bears haven't put up a lot of points. So they're banking on their defense. So, going into the game, if you could score, I actually think we could score 20 to 21 points against their defense.
Okay.
I actually believe that. But what I don't know is, although their offense haven't caught on and put up points, if our defense can stop their offense. You see what I'm saying? Because if we don't get any pressure, if we allow them to just go sit in the pocket, then we're going to be in trouble.
You're still dealing with the NFL quarterback.
Yeah. So and the next thing is, so far, Case has been great in not turning the ball over. And this team defensively wants to create turnovers. They want to get to the quarterback. They want to sack the quarterback. So if we can continue that, get the ball out of Case's hand, not turn the ball over, and we flip field position, because our punter has been doing an excellent job flipping field position in these situations. So if we make the Bears have to go 80 yards a drive, or we can pin them for a 90-yard drive, I just don't see the explosiveness on their offense led by Trubisky that the fear we had in Wentz or Dak.
Okay, that makes sense. Throughout the course of the week, via media, we're hearing that the defense maybe was too vanilla, and there's a disconnect between coaching staff, players, whatever you want to chalk it up to. Do you expect to see something different schematically on that side of the ball?
Listen, why is there a disconnect, and why is it in the media, right? Why is the media the one deciphering this? I could tell it's a disconnect. I could tell something is not right when you look and see communication off. When you look at your cornerback pointing at another guy and communication is off. Simplify. When I'm looking at the D-line that's supposed to be your strong point, your strength, that's supposed to carry you, that's supposed to stop the run and apply pressure, because now all of a sudden you got some decent linebackers, in Bostic and Holcomb. You got some linebackers who we weren't expecting these guys. These weren't the 2 guys that we were expecting coming through the preseason to be holding it down.
Right.
So I could tell this disconnect, because you haven't unleashed Payne. You haven't unleashed Kerrigan. You haven't unleashed Sweat. Like, those guys were supposed to be a critical part to this game plan. Now, Jonathan Allen, will he be back? Will he get on the field? When will he get on the field? That's still yet to see. But before we get into that, we're going to pay these bills.
You kill me being mid-thought, and I just want to follow up, and we got to pay bills. Helping people improve their lives is what should drive business. That's the belief at Koch Industries, which employs more than 65,000 people across America. The team at Koch works together to meet the world's changing needs in transportation, medical care, water filtration, household goods, energy-efficient building products, and everyday technologies, all while consuming fewer resources. See the innovations firsthand at kochindustries.com. Whether it's on the field or in the classroom, the Washington Redskins believe learning should be fun. That's why we've partnered with youth entrepreneurs to bring their engaging, hands-on style of learning to classrooms in the D.C. metro area. Youth Entrepreneurs curriculum was created by educators and for educators. That means it's flexible, fun, and absolutely free. To learn more about youth entrepreneurs and how to experience it for yourself, visit getye.org.
Shout out to Jake for getting you prepared for this. All right. Jake is up in New York. I think he still check out 26 minutes. He haven't sent us a shout out, but I know Jake is still following us. And, you know, he actually asked, was we coming up for the game, for the Giants game?
Well, that would be fun. Jake's living his best life in New York.
Yeah, man, them Yankees, they doing their thing. But just to continue where we left off in conversation.
Okay. I loved where you were going in terms of the disconnect. It's obvious to you with your background being a part of this organization, your years in NFL experience. So fix it. Like, let's get on solutions. Is it clearly just a age gap, communication type deal, or are guys not processing quick enough? Or is it 2 games in the season, we need to readjust because what we thought we were going to be, we're not, and we need to figure out how to play to our strengths now?
Well, I'm sure what you thought you were going to be was dominant D-line wise. You thought you were going to have Jonathan Allen, Ioannidis, and Payne being disruptive. All of a sudden, Jonathan Allen goes down. You got Ioannidis and Payne. Ioannidis, after starting off tremendous last year, after coming back from injury, hasn't been the same dominant force. Payne, you know, he's making plays, but that goes to one guy when you were expecting 3. Settle, still getting his feet wet. You know, I think it's a lot of upside. Caleb Brantley, I thought would be a huge part of this rotation. He goes down. So Montez Sweat, the draft, I just think he's playing out of position. I don't understand why he's not doing anything besides rushing the quarterback. And in this situation, when you go through 2 weeks of football, you have 1 sack, and your D-line was supposed to be dominant, then as a defensive coach, because you have too many coaches that Horton, you got what's the linebackers coach name?
Manusky's the defensive coordinator.
Yeah, but you got
Let me see.
so you have so many who?
Ryan.
You got Ryan, you got Horton, you have Manusky, you have too many defensive-minded people not to be able to fix this, right? Like, you got to be able to fix this as a collective group and say, hey, you know what? That you're trying, listen, we've been here before, because it's more than one guy that's been a defensive coordinator on the defensive side of the ball. So, therefore, I think they need to come up with another scheme. Say, hey, you know what, Greg? Listen to us.
This is where, again, continuing to learn, how much of this becomes the play call versus guys needing to just make plays?
Well, guys always need to make plays, but you have to put these guys, if you got a play call and I'm lined up 10 or 12 yards off and it's 3rd and 4, unless you got Superman,
it's kind of hard to make a play.
Unless you got Superman with that little lightning speed to shoot down, it's hard to make a play. So you got to put your guys in better position. We have yet to disrupt the opposing team's wide receivers. Go up and jam them. You know, like, everything is timing in the NFL now. Mm-hmm. So when a quarterback take his 3rd, 5th, or 7th step, he wants to release the ball. If you could disrupt the timing of the wide receivers to where, you know what, I know he's in a 3-step drop. I know he's in a 5-step drop. Oh, here's a 7-step drop. So let me hold this receiver or jam this receiver enough that it interrupts the timing. Now the quarterback has to come off his first read. He has to go to his second read. That gives your D-line a little more time. But maybe you should send a blitz, send something, do something, because you got to get you got to get pressure on the quarterback. If you don't do that, then it's pointless. So you got to put the players in better position to succeed. I don't want to see Josh Norman, Dunbar. I don't want to see them 10 yards off when the team only needs 6 yards to pick up a first down. Like, what are we doing? What's wrong with cover 2? You see what I'm saying? Like, what's wrong with cover 2? Let's make a team take a deep shot. Let's only tell a team, you know what? Maybe you got to complete this ball in front of us in the middle of the field, but we're not going to allow you to get over our head. We're not going to allow you to take this deep post, so we're going to drop out of here. Now we dictate, because there's ways you could dictate offense and defense where the team has to make adjustments to what you're doing.
The ability and the talent required to do what you're describing is here.
Yes.
Okay.
But it starts up front. It starts with the D-line. If the D-line doesn't get pressure, it's pointless.
A healthy Jonathan Allen? Does the D-line look drastically different?
I don't know if Jonathan Allen changes much at this point, because Jonathan Allen is interior. So you still don't have any ends that's causing havoc. You see what I'm saying? Like, last year, same thing. Kerrigan came on late. First 4-6 weeks, he was kind of MIA. and then he came on late. Preston Smith started to come on late,
Right.
but he's in Green Bay now, you know, and having a good season in Green Bay so far. So when you look at the guys, it's like everyone has to turn it up a notch. Everyone, not just one player. Everyone has to turn it up.
Coach and staff included.
Yeah,
everybody got to sharpen up.
Coaching staff have to. So offensively, it seems to me as a coaching staff, it's the coaching staff over the players. Where defensively, it seems like it's the players over the coaching staff. You see what I'm saying? Like offensively, I feel like the players are performing. You're just getting set back with penalties.
Goofy stuff.
Or but as far as the scheme and moving down the field, the options are there in case execute. Defensively, we're not execute. You see what I'm saying? Like we're out of position. We're a step behind, or the communication is missing. So it's like a flip.
Yeah, I got you. That makes sense. Assuming we adjust, low scoring game, obviously Monday night. Hopefully we break all the bad Monday night juju curse momentum. Stops here at home.
We need to break the Monday night curse. You're on the national stage, right? For another week. You're on a national stage. You're the only game on TV. As a player, when we got these opportunities, high school, college, NFL, that game was special. When you look at, when the schedules come out, everybody look to see what's our primetime game, right? So you have all off season to say, boy, we're going to be on Monday night, week 3, right? Now you done ordered some special cleats. You done thought of a visor or something because I'm coming out, I'm going to funk this outfit, I'm going to be fresh, and I'm going to ball out on national TV. So this is a game that normally leads, all off season that you've been waiting on. It's, because you played 2 divisional opponents, it's hard to say, oh, I'm not looking forward to that game. But the game that it's all about, we used to play on ABC, and my teammate Jared Payton used to say it's all about Clinton. You see what I'm saying?
Oh, look at you.
It's all about Clinton because when I see that blimp, this is my game. I got a different focus. I'm ready. You know what I mean? Compared to, hey, you know what? We playing Temple, and I'm trying to figure out, boy, if I could take 190 on the first carry, I'm coming out of the game. Like, I don't want to play Temple. You see what I'm saying? Like, I don't want to be on the field. I'm not trying to pad my stats. I want to be off the field. So here's your Monday night, right, where the world is watching. And afterwards, you're either going to be criticized or you're going to say, you know what, they got some fight in them. And numerous times the team has responded for Jay to show they got some fight.
I'm with it. Let's go. Ain't no time like the present. Okay, so that's Monday night. We obviously will wrap up week 3 here in the Washington, D.C. area. I'm going to just throw out some games for week 3 in general. Are you looking forward to them? Real quick thoughts. We talked about this yesterday. Ravens-Chiefs Sunday at 1 in Kansas City.
I think everyone will be glued to the TV to see this game because Lamar Jackson has been playing lights out. Kansas City playing lights out. Everyone's going to be looking forward to this game because this is going to be a matchup in the playoffs to determine who plays New England or who could defeat New England.
All right, so we talked about week 2 being brutal in terms of injuries. The Saints go to Seattle.
Tough game for them. Seattle finding its way, and then playing at Seattle is always a tough place to play. So Seattle at home is a tough game regardless. I don't care if you got Drew Brees or you don't, but being that you don't, now all of a sudden getting Teddy Bridgewater ready because they didn't even go back from L.A. So that's the next thing. They went from L.A. to Seattle. So getting him ready on the road, I would say Seattle.
What else? Another new quarterback. The Buccaneers will host Daniel Jones and the Giants.
I think the Bucs better be prepared. The Bucs have come out and put up points. They've come out and put up points. If you look at Jameis against the Carolina Panthers, I don't think he had a win on the road for quite some time, but he pulled off a win in Carolina. So the Bucs are one of them teams you don't know, because they're coming out slinging the ball with Bruce Arians. They got all kind of potential You know they're going to throw the ball. They're not even trying to run the ball. Like they're probably worse than us. You know, they run the ball probably like 20% of the time. So they're coming out slinging the ball. So you're going to have an opportunity.
All right, so the Browns looking to go 2 wins in a row. They host the Rams.
I think the Rams.
I
think the Rams. Browns look good on Monday night, though.
They did.
They took advantage of that stage. I think OBJ needed that breakout game in Cleveland, in a Cleveland uniform, and he returned with some thunder.
I have not looked at the whatever Vegas has for this one, but the Cowboys host the Dolphins. It's going to be
Cowboys and the Patriots got the biggest spread this week, because they're supposed to
last week.
They're supposed to demolish both of their
Patriots
opponents.
got the Jets.
Yeah.
Falcons Colts could be interesting.
Could be. Julio back on fire, getting in the end zone after last week. I think a lot of points scored in that game.
All right, so just some other games we're keeping our eye on. Did I miss anyone that's important?
No, but instead of keeping your eye on it, you could pay the bill.
Let's pay some bills. Hey guys, it's Monica and Clinton of 26 Minutes. One of our favorite things to do is to play games from the Virginia Lottery, and they introduced a new game. It's called Print and Play Rolling Jackpot. It's a Virginia-only instant win game, and it has a starting jackpot of $50,000. The jackpot increases with each ticket sold until the jackpot is won. There are no pay slips to fill out and no waiting for a drawing. Just purchase, play, and check to see if you won. It is so easy. A $2 ticket can win 20% of the jackpot. A $5 ticket can win 50% of the jackpot. And a $10 ticket can win 100% of the jackpot. For each price point, the odds of winning the top prize are 1 in 240,000. Look for it at your favorite Virginia Lottery retailer.
I'm trying to meet that boy Clinton Portis, though. They say that boy, they say he's smooth on his feet. I'm trying to teach him something.
Teach him something.
Teach him something.
Welcome back to 26 Minutes now as we continue our outlook for week 3.
Are we are? I thought we was going to get some things off our chest.
Our review. Okay,
okay.
Matter of fact, let's get some things off our chest. So,
do you need to put a button on week 3 review? You got one final statement that
we
matters?
don't need to put a button.
Okay.
We need to get to these comments So Monica has been doing some research, which she's great at doing.
Thank you.
And some things that we missed last week because we had so much more to talk about, but something that we both want to address on the pod. So take it away.
All right, so a couple of marquee faces in the world of sports and football in particular have made statements that seem to set Twitter ablaze, national media, columnists, all of that. First, we'll start with Tim Tebow, who on First Take passionately expresses why he disagrees with what California is proposing, which would allow student athletes to make money off of their likeness.
So I listened to those comments. I saw Dez Bryant responded to those comments.
I did not see Dez's response.
Well, Dez responded to those comments last week.
Okay.
And he had his take on it. And you look at Tim Tebow, and I grew up in Gainesville, and I know how huge he was in Gainesville and for the Gators. You look at Tim Tebow, top quarterback coming out of high school. Future is bright when you have that kind of notoriety, right? For so many young guys that, Tim Tebow came from a 2-parent household, good background, good upbringing.
Suburbia.
Then you come from suburbia neighborhoods, you come to Gainesville, Florida, college town. You didn't have to pay for anything, right? Everything at the University of Florida, it was there. It was available. You look at a lot of guys that's coming from high school to college and the conditions they're leaving from and going to because it's an adjustment. So they've never left their town. And you get to these, if you're outside of a college town, if you're in the city, like for myself to go from Gainesville to the University of Miami, Miami's in Coral Gables. Coral Gables is a prestigious neighborhood. Coral Gables is an expensive area.
Very.
Dadeland Mall, which is the closest, is expensive. Everything around us, gas is expensive. We're not downtown Miami. We're not in an impoverished community, so everything is expensive. No one looks at that. The food we are exposed to is expensive. It's healthy places. It's nice places. So you don't have just, there's McDonald's, there's Burger King. Let's go here. You see all these nice places. Once you see these nice places, you get curious. You want to try it. You look at the situation at Ohio State, right? Another college town, Columbus, where you had Maurice Claret. You had the quarterback that sold his jersey for tattoos, whatever. All these college situations that happen. You look at Ole Miss, which is in Oxford, Mississippi, having the #1 recruiting class, and you get all these guys to go here, and then all of a sudden it's like, oh, they've been giving money. Well, how else are you going to survive in college? You're doing so much on the college level, and they're making so much money off of your likeness, even with the video game. Like, I still wish we had NCAA football. Everyone does. But the discrepancy of how much money they was making and not having to pay anybody for their likeness was crazy. And they only had the numbers. They didn't have your name on the back. It was 28 or 6 or, so when you look at that situation, I think you could pay guys. It doesn't have to be determined upon university, because instead of giving that $1,100 or $1,200 stipend that you get monthly, that monthly allowance that only pays your rent, and after you pay your rent and you pay your bills, you right back to what I'm gonna do for the rest of the month. So now I got to eat in the calf and do this. You could simplify that so much by giving every player $3,500, $4,000, right? It's not a big. You go up 3,000 times how many student athletes you have on scholarship is not going to bankrupt the school. They're still going to make millions of dollars. So therefore, I think you could just increase the monthly stipend. You don't have to pay and say, oh, this player is worth this much. You don't have to make a player struggle through college, because if you take that decision away from a guy to say, you know what, I'm struggling in college, I have something going on back home, I really need to hurry up and get to the NFL or get money so I can help out. Maybe some guys will stop leaving early. These guys who don't have a draft status, that's leaving school early, that's projected 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round, and they like, I'm going to take my chances and go in the 4th round instead of staying in college for another year, maybe they'll stick around because they're not under the stress of, you know what, man, I want to send my mama $500 this month. Yeah. But if I send her $500, you gave me $1,100, I got $600. Me and my roommate, we already struggling, and there's nothing in the refrigerator. You see what I'm saying? So if you just increase the stipend, you don't have to figure out a pay scale for the likeness. Give everybody $4,000 or $5,000.
I don't know if that is 100% feasible, especially with schools that don't have big time football. But I agree with you. I think the A10 was one of the first conferences to really look at the cost of living and calculate what their athletes needed based on where they were. And so it is definitely a comprehensive conversation.
But see, that would never allow the A10 to get a big-time player. Right?
I got you. No, I got you. But this, to me, I think if I were to draw up the scheme, the universities would look at the cost of living, where they're located, make sure their kids are covered, and then why would you not allow a kid to be able to make money off their own likeness? You've built this brand from whenever kids are specializing at 9 years old or whatever that is.
Because they want to capitalize.
That's what I'm saying. You got to step off.
When the brand is so big, if one player, like on Madden, right, the one head coach that's not assigned to Madden, it just say New England coach, is Bill Belichick for his likeness. You see what I'm saying?
I got you, but I feel like the fear is that the kids' brands will become bigger than the team. But to me, the brand can't win you or put you an opportunity to play in the college football playoff. So yeah, you would have kids with brands and opportunities to pad their pockets, but they still want to be a part of a team and win.
But then you have kids that's handling business and making business decisions contingent upon them instead of the university. Now you're talking about a kid having access to someone who has to guide him through branding himself.
So that would be the part.
Another problem.
That would be the part I would tell universities to get on board. And just like you got academic advisors, strength coaches, whatever, you would need somebody to deal with this position because that's where we are. But I disagree wholeheartedly that these kids shouldn't be able to profit off of their own likenesses while the NCAA and the universities are cleaning up. I think that's ridiculous.
Well, the next thing I think is the university kind of determines who they push to the forefront. Right?
Agreed.
Universities always determine who they want to push and the name, the person they want to highlight and sell their tickets around. So if you highlight a certain individual, or you look at Oregon where they have a great quarterback, you look at Alabama where they have a great quarterback, but Alabama has so many other great players. So your quarterback is being pushed, but you got a D lineman that's gonna go higher than the quarterback might go.
So let the D lineman get his money.
His is hard. Therefore, I think you should look at what this university is bringing in. The simplest way, right? Without doing any breakdown. You look at what this university is making off of their sports, and you designate a certain amount of money that they got to give back to their players.
You think the universities are actually going to do that? We wouldn't. If the universities had the mind to do that, we wouldn't even be having this conversation right now. They too busy paying Saban and whoever else their $1 million deals to cut the kids a check. I think we're far more likely to allow the kids to make their own money and be their own entrepreneurs than we are the universities to cut them a check.
I just think it's a distraction for kids, especially because I know going into the NFL how hard it is to keep up with your money, and the likeness of college athletes is crazier than it is for the NFL. College athletes are playing in front of 80 to 120,000 contingent upon the school you're at.
Don't throw them to the wolves. Add it to your program. Embrace it. Let's make it work for us. The other quick thing that we wanted to jump into in terms of comments, Steve Young comparing the NFL to the NBA with a negative connotation in Jalen Ramsey is probably the latest to want to force his way out of a situation. I love where we are in terms of athletes controlling their narrative, making moves, but I guess the NFL and NBA are very different in that way.
So, NBA, you could trade teams mid-season. Everything in the NBA is the same, right? Most of the terminology, you got motion, offense, boxing one, whatever you run and gun, you kind of fit in. You figure out, hey, I'm the SF, I'm the PF, and this is what I'm doing. This is where I'm supposed to be. Defensive adjustments, kind of, different. But NBA is an easier adjustment. Like you could get traded today, you're playing tomorrow night.
Team
for
continuity
your team.
Matters differently.
NFL,
does that mean people are supposed to stay where they hate it?
No. I don't think. Now, I disagree with Steve's comment, but players being able to say, trade me mid-season and I want out, you know what I mean? Just because your team is losing or things. Because the NFL, we've seen numerous teams start off 0-4 and make the playoffs. Or we've seen teams start off 4-0 and not make the playoffs. So things can change in the NFL. It's just about getting a break in your schedule or a team coming together and fighting and pushing through. So for NFL players that's doing it, it's just different. It's new to us. So we haven't made that adjustment to say, oh, Jalen Ramsey was just in Jackson. Oh, now Jalen Ramsey in New England.
Do you like it?
I don't know. I kind of do, because if Jalen Ramsey ends up in a great situation, you're talking about Antonio Brown, Jalen Ramsey, Minka, all guys who forced themselves off of their team when they got the money they were looking for. Even I would throw Le'Veon Bell in this.
Yeah.
Forced guys off of their team when they got the money they were looking for to be in a different situation.
I don't take issue with it, but I also think when we have these conversations, we want to apply this one size fits all, and it's not like that. There's an elite level of guys that can do this. This is not going to be everybody hopping popcorn in their team all through the league.
I agree, but you know what? You know what it's going to take, as it always does? It's going to take the face of an organization, Eli Manning, right? It's going to take an unhappy Eli Manning or a guy that's been there, that's getting screwed, to say, you know what, trade me. Because right now it's African Americans. Right now it's us that's making this demand. Mm-hmm. But the moment that you get a Drew Brees that's disgruntled, the moment that you get an Aaron Rodgers that's disgruntled, or a Phillip Rivers that's disgruntled, and they say, you know what, get me up out of here.
So on that, is making this demand significantly more different than Andrew Luck stepping away 2 weeks before the season started? Because it's still about what works for you and what brings you peace and makes you whole.
He stepped away with $26 million.
I mean,
that's it for 26 minutes. $26 million for Luck. 26 minutes has now come to an end. Thanks for listening. I'm Clint Portis. My co-host is Monica McNutt. I'm signing off.
Mic drop.
Locally owned Novec has the most reliable power in the region. And we all know how important being reliable is.
Especially with my electricity.
Novec provides electricity from multiple renewable sources.
Yeah!
And will soon include even more solar.
That's great.
And Novec offers convenient 24/7 online services.
I can pay my bill anytime, anywhere.
Novec.
Power you can trust.
Well, the new football season is almost here, and this team is not going to settle this year.
No way. They're focused on being the best. That's why they all went and got Hondas on clearance at the Honda Summer Spectacular event.
Because as we all know, if you want to be the best, you have to drive the best. Exactly.
Don't settle this football season. Get clearance pricing on a reliable, award-winning Honda like the Accord, Civic, CR-V, HR-V, Pilot, and more. Don't settle. Get to the Honda Summer Spectacular event at your local Honda dealer today.